there is this line, like two lines actually comes to my head when I think of you and what's happening right now. Success comes slowly,
Yeah.
then all at once.
I feel like sometimes we get so lost with the destination that we completely forget the journey that's there in the process. And fortunately for me, I have a great ecosystem around me that keeps me grounded. My sister is 5 years older to me. Like most aspiring actors in this country, she moved to Bombay. And with every film that my sister did before Sacred Games came out, the constant discussion with every release of hers used to be, this is going to change my life. This is going to change my life. So I remember Sacred Games came out on the 6th of July, if I'm right, 2018. And I spoke with her the previous night and I said, Didi, every single time you've hinged your hopes on something to change the trajectory of your career, it's never happened. So with this one, don't pressure yourself to succeed. If it happens, enjoy it. And that's the kind of play that we have between us. Like, she called me the other day and she said, I'm so proud of you and I'm so happy for you because I know how hard you've worked all these years, and to suddenly see so many people from around the country take notice of you, celebrate you, appreciate the work that you're doing, you must be feeling great. I said, yeah, because usually what happens is when success is delayed, people get bitter. But in my case, I think I'm just very grateful because I am only 32, which I still think is pretty young. And to have such love and appreciation come from all parts of the country is very overwhelming. At the same time, it's very humbling.
Tell us, how did this Kida come into you to do these kind of things?
So, ma'am, my mother is very funny. She's lovely. She's got a great sense of humor. And remember, I had gone to an ophthalmologist with her when I was very young. And there was a board on the wall that said, a good speaker is a better listener. It didn't make sense to me then. But I think it must be that I carried with me all these years. Because when I was in school, when I was in college, there was nothing that could miss my eye. Somebody would do something and I would immediately do the same thing again. Somebody would say something and I would pick that language and start speaking like them. And fortunately for me, I've never been discouraged in that sense. Like, I remember one incident from my boarding school. I went to a boarding school in Coorg called Coorg Public School. And the principal of my school, Professor M.D. Nanjunda, lovely man, my first hero. I watched him speak on stage and I was like, wow, this is exactly how I want to be on stage as well. A teacher took me to him for imitating him in class. I was imitating the teacher and the teacher was very angry. So he took me to Professor M.D. Nanjunda, and Nanjunda sir yelled at the teacher and said, he's a child, he will do things that children do. So what if he imitated you? And you never know, he might actually end up making something out of this in his life. And that's exactly what has happened so many years later. So I guess the system around me let me function and operate in a certain manner. That's one. And the second thing was at home. Difficulties bring out the best in you, I guess, sometimes. There was always such a tug of war at home between my father and my mother, that when we would go out, my sister and I, the one way to forget who we uh, were or where we came from was to just transform and be someone else. And when you transform and be someone else, you're usually in a very heightened space in terms of your emotions. You're being somebody else, you're doing different voices, you're doing different accents, you're being funny, you suddenly become the center of that group there, from being sidelined at home because a fight was taking the center stage. And I think it's just been that conditioning that has gone in to the person that I am today.
Hmm. Well, when you were in school, I mean, I can gather you said that you must have been the bane of your. I mean, what is it that you wanted to become when you grew up?
From the time I've been a child. From the time I've been a child. You know, ma'am, my first ever event that I did was on a canter, a float that was moving around the city publicizing Shah Rukh Khan's Temptations. And I was on that float with the mic, and I was very young. I must have been about 13, 14 then, I think. I did it as a summer job, earning 200 rupees a week or whatever they paid at that time. I always wanted to do this. I never wanted to do anything else in my life. I always wanted to be an entertainer. Probably today, I have a definition which is more, streamlined in terms of what I want to do. I want to act. I want to do, I want to write content. I want to make films eventually. That's kind of gotten straightened out. But if I have to be completely honest with you, as a child, it was, I want to be an actor. I want to be I want the spotlight. It was just that. I didn't know what could get me the spotlight. Like, for example, true story, I did 11th and 12th. I did science. I did physics, chemistry, maths, biology. I had 46 kids in my class, 44 of them, and they're all really dear friends. They're all from my boarding school friends. 44 of them are either engineers or doctors. One of them, owns an estate, and then there's me who's doing this. I always wanted to do this, so I never sat for the common entrance test, which usually gets you your ranking for engineering and medical colleges. I didn't want to waste the ranking if I wasn't going to do that. And the principal of my school spoke with my mother and said, he is more likely to succeed as a creative person than as an engineer or a doctor. There are enough of those that we'll produce, but the world will also need this,
Wow.
which is why I said he's, my first hero and still continues to be.
Wow. You're in touch with him still.
Any good news, any bad news, anything happy, anything sad, my first call goes to my mother. Second call is to my sister, and then to him. So it's the three people that I will call no matter what happens.
Wow. So let's talk about this. Then you decided to be an actor, and you did these kind of small things, summer jobs,
Yeah,
etc. To
yeah,
when was it that you got a big break? And like when your friends were passing out of the engineering
yeah,
colleges, coming out like getting a jobs with
yeah.
like some lakhs of things salary. What was it going on with you? What were you doing?
Actually, even I was making the lakhs. Because, ma'am, my first job, by the time they finished their engineering, I had my first job. Uh,
uh,
by the time they found jobs, I had my second job, which started paying me in lakhs, right? So my first job was with
that's very good.
my first job, my first proper job was with an event agency called Phase One, where I used to do client servicing, and I didn't enjoy it too much. I'll be very honest, like it's like throwing a monkey in front of a laptop. I'm ridiculous with it, right? um, my second job, which is where all of this really started taking shape, was with Radio Voice in Bahrain. That was my first ever radio job, and it happened just out of nowhere. Because I used to do events, I used to host events in college, and the family kind of knew that my cousin sister knew. My sister was already doing it, so the word was always there that these kids are doing this with a mic and they make some money, whatever. Uh, so my cousin sister ended up meeting somebody who owned a radio station in Bahrain. She recommended my name, and they were so desperate they hired me. So I moved to Bahrain. Started making 750 dinars a month, and I'm talking about 10 years ago, which is a lot of
Wow.
money. I worked out, but I wasn't good at the job. I'll be very honest with you, because I think what happens is sometimes when you've never, if you've never assisted somebody who's earned a certain position in their life, you'll never learn. Because I think learning is the key to growing, right? And we all
Yeah.
learn every single day from different people. I never had a mentor, to be honest, in radio. You see, my childhood, I can place a mentor. I can tell you Professor M.D. Nanjunda was my mentor. After that, I didn't have one for a few years. I went to Bahrain. From there, I moved to Dubai. Again, worked at a radio station there. But I wasn't happy because I kept challenging positions that people had earned for themselves. I would always wonder, why am I not doing this when I'm better than this person?
Yeah.
But when they gave me the chance to perform, I wasn't better than that person. To understand that, before I met Darius Soonawala, who is a very popular radio name in Bangalore.
In Bangalore.
You know, he's been the pioneer of radio in this country, one of the pioneers in this, of radio in this country. When I moved to Bangalore and when I joined Fever 104 FM, that's when I found a mentor. Between him and the programming head, Harsha Shivram, they've been extremely supportive, you know, just to teach me to use my strengths. For example, the prank calls that happened and these different voices and characters that came out, I credit them with genuinely helping me channelize my energy. And I think that's why the mentors are very important. It's very important to have the right mentor.
Yeah.
And from there, things just started changing rapidly. You know, I know a lot of people in the entertainment business like to romanticize their struggle, but I feel like I've gone through a process um, of shining. You know, it's like a diamond. Till you keep shining, it's not going to shine till then, right? It's never going to have its complete luster.
Keep polishing it. Yeah.
The polishing. I feel like it's been that for me. So I have made money in the process. I have worked in the process. I've worked with good people. I've worked with some great people, some not so nice people. But eventually all of it has amounted to this. Because it was the prank calls that sort of opened up the event market in a big way. You know, people started calling me to their company to host this, host that. That worked out. Then I met a team that does improv in Bangalore. I'd actually gone for their show and I said, I want to do this as well. And they said, come on, join us. I met them. We started working together. At an improv show that I was doing, somebody from RCB ended up seeing me there and said, oh my God, you're the guy who does the prank calls and you do improv. We want to create a property that bridges the fans and the team. And we want you to come meet us. So I met them. And then Mr. Nags happened with RCB. So Nikhil Sosley was the guy who found me there. And again, I always tell him that, you know, it's very important to be a shapeshifter. And that's how I think I've always been. But it's also important that people come and mold you and just deflect you in the right sort of zones. So he came along. Then RCB Insider happened. And when I saw this snowball becoming bigger, that's when we decided to make a film. Called Humble Baldwin Nagraj, which was the first Kannada film to be on Amazon Prime. You know, I'm again, you know, different people come along again, right? It's amazing. So my producers, Rakshit, Pushkar, Hemant, they came along. Saad, my friend, he came along. Then Mr. Vijay Subramanyam from Amazon, he came along. And that process got bigger. So we had a film come out. Now, 2 years after that, I have a series which I'm making with Applause with, you know, Mr. Sameer Nair. You know, he's one of the producers on it. His company, Applause, is handling it. And, you know, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I think theaters aren't really the place I belong because it's just too big a world and it's too mysterious a world that I don't get. This is more corporatized. You go, you get a script approved, you know what money you're getting, you make the show, give it back, you're done. Right?
Yeah.
It's simpler. But films is too many variables and Excel sheets and percentage shares and profit shares, which I didn't want to understand. And I was like, it's better I don't put my head into this.
Yeah. You know, you talked about mentorship. You talked about this. Today, there are a lot of young people who are, because of this lockdown also, and because looking at you and getting inspired from you, are trying to like bring out their latent talents and hidden talent. What would you tell them if they want to succeed in something like this, what you do?
Ma'am, there's no formula to it except one, which I think is the base to any creative person, which is try and put your work out there. It doesn't matter how good or bad or pathetic it is. Just put it out there. Because if you don't try, you'll never know what works and what doesn't. I don't think Leonardo da Vinci had an idea of how iconic the Mona Lisa would become. Now we spend so many thousands of rupees to go to, Italy and go see the Mona Lisa and come back. But if you just sat down and said, will it be popular enough? Will it be good enough? Because I think everything else that comes with the work that you put out is just byproducts. Be it the likes, be it the comments, be it the shares, be it the brands, be it the appreciation, the love, the hate, all of it is a byproduct of what you put out there. And I think as creators, the only thing that we can do is make content and put it out there. People will pick it up if they have to pick it up. And I think that's the only advice that I would give, because I think most people are just afraid to fail. Yeah. And I feel like mistakes are lovely because you learn from them. Like, for example, I have friends who tell me I don't know how to edit. I don't know either, but I edit my own videos. And that's because I sat around enough editors till now. Every time I'm working on a project, I invariably go sit down on the edit to just see what they're doing. I have questions, I'll ask them. And I feel like it's very important to constantly keep, it's very important to constantly try and learn and engage with people who know the craft, because you never know what comes to use when. I'll give you an example. My sister and I always talk about it. Till date, it's our most favorite example. And you can ask her and she will also tell you. We saw movers and shakers once with Nikhil Chinnappa, who had just won an MTV VJ Hunt, or he was one of those popular VJs back then.
Yeah.
And when Shekhar Suman asked him, how do you prepare? He said, I read anything and everything that's lying in front of me. It could be a menu card, it could be a book, it could be a paper, it could just be the instruction manual of a new gadget. I just read everything because it's important to just know. Because only when you have it here can you produce from here. So I think it's very important to just learn, and that eventually kind of starts fueling everything else.
Yeah, your mother is your hero. I mean, you also talked about. Tell us a little bit about your growing up years. How has she influenced you? What was it like? You've gone through some bad times, you said. A little bit about that.
So my mom and I share a very amazing relationship. We're friends today, more than just mother and son. We can disagree, we can agree, and there's a channel of communication that's always open. Growing up, I think just watching her go about her business and life in general, she was always very enterprising, very outgoing, very happy to speak with people, because she used to run supermarkets. So the conversations range from speaking to a supplier to speaking to a customer who probably has 5 Mercedes cars and just comes to shop at our place and go back. And I think what I learned through that journey was the importance of knowing how to have a meal with a king or a pauper, because the spectrum of life is so big that it's important to live the entire curve, because only then you become more worldly and wise, and you start realizing things like basic stuff like how my problems are probably not even problems, because there are people who have bigger issues and they're struggling to just make make a good living, right? That was one. Also, the fact that my mother, when she was married to my father, it wasn't the most conducive, it wasn't the best relationship that they had, but she never lost faith, or never lost sight of life, because adversity hits all of us, but eventually to see an opportunity and to say that failure isn't an option, it doesn't matter what the odds are, I will still survive. I think I've learned survival from her. Today you can take everything away from me and ask me to do any job, and I'm happy to rebuild because I can survive. Um, Also, the fact that she never had a plan B.
Mm.
I feel like plan B, the moment you have a safety blanket and the moment you go without gut and instinct, I think that can stop you in your tracks. But the moment you just go in with one plan, saying, this is it, I'm going to put all my effort in this one thing and it will pay me the dividends. Like with Kubra and me, we were both taking careers for a middle class home where there was just a single earning parent. It's a little risky. It's not normal for you to have two children walk up to you and say, I want to be actor, I want to be actor too.
Yeah.
But she invested in us and she knew that, I don't know what her faith was in us. She's been brutally honest. My sister wanted to be a singer and she told my sister she's crap at singing. She said, you can't sing, so don't try. But uh, I think I've learned conviction from her. The fact that you need to go in with one plan. She could have well and good chosen to make one an actor, the other an engineer, but she said, no, I'll just support both of them. And I think it's some of my life's greatest lessons have come just watching her and how she's evolved.
So when this lockdown happened, I mean, just the genesis of this whole conversations with friends that started, you were having those kind of
It happened after the
conversations.
first week, man. After the first week. The first week was just that. Everybody was like, dude, Corona, dude, what's gonna happen, dude? I don't know, man. Macha, this thing will go over. Macha, when did it get over? And I was like, these are the same conversations, right? Like if you're having it with one person, it's okay. But if you're having it with everyone, then you know that it's the same stuff that people are saying. So I just made this series called Conversations with My Friends.
How many conversations have you had, like before you started? Like how were you on the phone all the time? I mean, what was it like?
Considerably annoying and irritating. My mother has been extremely angry with me, but now she's very happy. I in fact called her today and I said, Ma, I'm so happy with whatever is happening around me. And she said, good, beta, God bless you. But the same mother wasn't so happy about 60 days ago because every time she tried to reach me, I'd be on a call talking to someone. So I had to make a few phone calls and talk to people. And then you kind of start understanding what the general mood is, right? I think that's where awareness comes in.
Yeah.
You kind of know what conversations people are. I feel like anybody who's in the business of comedy does have, we're all doing social commentary at some level. In any form of art that you pick, you are doing social commentary at some level.
Yeah.
It's not the primary focus for me because I do believe that there are enough change makers in the world. It's like, how do I put it, ma'am? All of us can change to make the world a better place. But do all of us have to become change makers? Not necessary. Because then there is a mass out there that doesn't know whom to follow. Do they follow you? Do they follow me? Is my method right or somebody else's method right? I think that position has already been occupied. There are activists, there are NGOs, there are politicians, and so on and so forth who occupy that position. Then there are people like us who don't have to necessarily change the world. Am I giving laughter? Yes. Is there a subtle message that you pick if you want? That's your choice. I'm not going to come rub it in your face and be like, here, information, lelo. I don't think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. You've changed. I mean, all of us have changed after this, and everybody's saying we are not going to be the same anymore after this virus thing. What are a couple of things that you feel have changed in you, and you will not go back to the old ways? What are those old ways, and what is this new thing?
Um, to be honest with you, I am quite a disciplined boy in that sense. I, probably the one thing that if I have to like really put a finger on and say I'd like to change this, I think it would just be appreciating the time that I spend with people, because I feel like I've not been very appreciative of that. You meet someone and then you just get buried into your cell phone replying to text messages, and that's not healthy, is it? It's not healthy.
Yeah.
Then you go through a situation like this and you realize, man, there's so much in the world. There's so much, and I wish I'd made better use of the time that I got with that person, because I don't know when I'm going to see that person again and where we're going to meet again. That's one. Also, I feel like the one thing that's happened with all of this for me personally is I've become very grateful to what I have in life. I don't think I had so much gratitude. I don't think I ever looked at my life and went, I'm comfortable. I never went that way. I was always inching in the greed inside me. I think that greed is dead now. I feel like every time I desire for something that I don't need, like for example, t-shirts, people have started pointing out how I'm repeating my t-shirts, and I'm like, yeah, but घर का कपड़ा इतना ही है मेरे पास, because I was supposed to be in Bombay, and a majority of my clothes are in Bombay at Kubra's place. I was supposed to be in Bombay literally 2 days before the lockdown was announced. I was supposed to fly the next day.
Oh.
So all my clothes are in Bombay. So I'm very happy. I feel like, greed, absence, even though you're present, but you're mentally absent. I think those are things that will definitely change for me.
So right now you're alone here. Your mother
Yeah.
and sister are in Bombay.
My sister's in Bombay. Mama lives at her place in Bangalore.
Okay.
But I'm kidnapping her tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm bringing her over the weekend. We're going to have a quiet little movie date, both of us.
Oh wow. Which movie are you going to watch?
I'm not sure. I think I'll let her pick. I'll let her pick.
Okay, wonderful. Perhaps know about your story. You read,
I do.
have read. I don't know whether you would like to, but if you could want to say something in your own way about your story, what would you say?
Tamillarige, namaskara, dear friends. Myself, Nagraj. I'm a humble politician. As you know, nowadays, media, it's completely sold. Everybody owns something, right, left, center, top, down. But your story is very neutral. It is your story. So politicians are not interested in that. So please check it out.
Thank you so much, Danish. And I'll remain a fan for life.
Thank you.
And continue making all of us laugh. And God bless you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.